Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you haven't seen it already, I put out a rapid fire video, 2 parts yesterday. Go check that out. Right now, the price of Bitcoin got a rejection. Actually, not too long ago, we saw a pretty nasty wick right in here. So, zooming in to the 1 hour, we can see it pretty clearly here. So, what does that mean? What is happening here? Well, there's a few ideas that can happen, right? And since we are in the middle of the retracement level, it is very difficult to gauge where exactly we are heading in the short term. But as you know, my stance in the long term, I'm expecting continuation higher at some point. The big question is, how does this correction wrap up? Because there can really be a couple different ways, and I talked about those. But one of the biggest things that, is on my mind is this guy right down here, which is the bull market support band. When is it going to get tested? It hasn't tested it since going back, let's see here, all the way back. I mean, we really haven't tested it yet since we broke above it. You can see we tested it back last June, right? So coming up almost on a year since we haven't successfully tested it makes me wonder, are we going to come down and test it? That's right. When we had this flat pattern back here, I was really hoping we could have tested it. So, makes me wonder, are we going to test it now, or do we have another high, then we're going to test it? It is yet to be seen. One thing we can see here, so I'll create an argument for both sides, right? So on the bearish side, right? Well, really not bearish, but short-term bearish for continuing the correction, which, by the way, is actually really bullish because it's healthy and it's really much needed, especially, you know, from coming all the way down here back in September, October, right? We had a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So we have a 5 wave move, and typically you get a bigger correction. So if this was wave 4, look how big wave 4 was. Well, if that's the case, and we need a counter trend, then we continue higher. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you what I think. Two things are happening. Either number one, this was the end of the wave, and then you had your A, B, and a C. And now we have a 1, 2, and now we have a 3. We're getting 4, and we get 5. That's really what I would like to see in order to get the heck out of here, right? So, we have a 1, 2, 3. Maybe this turns into some type of diagonal, right? Where we come back up and it's some type of rising wedge. We get a 3-way pullback back down to the lows, and then we continue higher. So that would essentially be my, main idea, with just drawn a little differently, which basically is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. You go sideways a bit, then you continue higher. But as of now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a 5-wave move, right? And then we have an A, B, C. So so far, that's what we have. Now, it is yet to be seen if this is a wave 4 and we get a wave 5. If we do, we get that A, B, C back down, maybe down double bottom or even a higher low, then continue higher. If not, then this becomes an A, B. This is a 1, 2, 1. No, I'm sorry, that's not right. This right here would be the first wave down, because it can't be a 1, 2, 1, 2, because this wick took out both of these highs. So you can't really count that. Um, so, but anyways, it doesn't really matter because essentially this idea suggests that this would be just a big fat A, B, and a C. Now, the thing is, C can land here or C can come all the way back down here. So let's see if we can gauge that, right? So those are kind of the two ideas that I'm presenting here. And I know it's not entirely helpful, but you have to understand when you're in the middle of a retracement following 5 waves, the likelihood is more correcting. So, but there's other things as well is happening too, because if you look, let me take that off the screen. But before I do that, the C wave could potentially come all the way down here. I don't think it would, because then you're breaking this support. We definitely don't want to break below 50K, right, to continue this wave to the upside. And really, between 50 and 53K would be that big area to hold. The retracement for that, if I put it here, I come all the way up to the retracement there. So your C leg can come between, we already had a 50% retracement, so that could be sufficient enough, or we can come down and tag the 618. What we don't want to do is go below the 702, right? So we want to, theoretically, we want to stay above 57. So that would be kind of our last line in the sand, I guess you would as you would say. But even if we did break it, it would just, that terminology just means more time is needed. It doesn't default and crush the the bull market. It just means it's more time that needs to elapse. And what's interesting about this C leg coming down to the 618, 702, somewhere in here, is if you look at the projection. So if we had a projection here, but then we had the bull market support band coming here, we would kind of flatten out, and it would look and it appear as if we would match up to it. And that would be somewhere around April 8th, maybe that first week of April, I would say. So, that's a real projection. I don't really do projections on the channel, but for time, but around, I would say, really want to stay above 60K, but I would say about 57 to 59K by April 8th, if this idea was going to play. That would be the best case scenario for this idea, because if we are going to come down in a C leg, I really would like for Bitcoin to take advantage of the C leg and test the bull market support band, because then we can get that out of the way. And whatever happens here, that is basically, if that happens, that would be the biggest moment in Bitcoin's history for this bull market, and really for its entire life, because depending if it holds, if we can hold above and wick off this, hold above the bull market support band, then that means we are very likely to come and break this top. So it all determines what happens down here, determines years in advance of what will happen in the future. So it's that significant. And I mean, just look back over here, back in the 2016, 2017 rally. Every time we had a wave up, we came down and tested it. We had a wave up, we came down and tested the bull market support band. We had a wave up, we tested it. 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 Look what happened when we didn't test it. We had a blow off top, right? So the bull market support band is Bitcoin's best friend as it ventures off into its new price discovery, right? And so far, we haven't even tested it yet. And that's the concerning part that I have. That's why it was critical that we tested it here. We had a wave up, but we didn't test it. We had another wave up. So now the problem is we're getting too far extended away from the bull market support band. And if you get too far extended away from it, when you come down, sometimes you can lose it, right? So look what happened back over the last bull run. We came up, we almost tested it. We came up again, we tested it properly. But then we came up, we didn't test it. We came up, we didn't test it. We came up, we didn't test it. And then eventually, all of that not testing led to a breakdown. And then, a retracement, right? So, not saying that's going to happen, but that's why we would like to test it. So if that's the case, then we want to see this ABC play out, right? We want to see this A, B, C play out. Now, it can turn into something different. It can be more complex. Now, if that's the idea of coming down here, how could that look? Well, obviously, right, you have an ABC. Another way could be a WXY, right, which would be W. Then you come up again in X. Then you come back down in Y. And then you hit it. And that, my friends, would be a 1, 2, 3. It would be a 3-wave correction. It would just be more complex, right? It would take a series of 3, 3, 3 to get down, which essentially is 3, right? Then, maybe base out a little bit here. Then we can continue the bull run. So that is an idea that I haven't shared yet. But as of now, we're gonna, we'll like I said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, we're just throwing out sort of ideas about how we can get down to that bull market support band. So those are the two ideas that I have if we were to come down and test that bull market support band. So some confluence to that is we had, let's see here. If we look at the current wave here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And then we have a move back down, A, B, and a C. But then confluence to that, right, we have 5 waves. But more than that is we're retracing, right? So if I put a Fibonacci here, we retraced it pretty nicely. We got to the 786, but we rejected 71K, pretty hardcore, right? So now let's talk about, if we don't hit the bull market support band, what other things can be happening? Well, as I said in my previous videos, some of the main ideas would be a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, right? The other idea would just be, you sort of have a little base down here, you break out, you come down, and you sort of bull flag out, break out, back test, and then continue higher. So that would be the more bullish idea. But for now, it looks like we're still in this correction. So yeah, that's what I got for Bitcoin. So again, we're right in the middle of those retracement levels. It'll be interesting to see what's happening. So zooming back in, like we could have a diagonal, right? A 1, 2, 3. We're coming down for 4. We get 5. That would be interesting to see if we get that. So, but if you look at the current wave, right? We have 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is wave 4. It looks like a nice bull flag. Doesn't that look like a nice, doesn't this look somewhat impulsive, and this looks more corrective, which kind of tells me, hey, maybe, and also Thursdays have been lately kind of pumpy days. So maybe we get a nice pump coming tomorrow. Hopefully we have a green day tomorrow. That would be nice to see. But yeah, you can see all of these overlapping waves, very corrective, right? Which is good because you want that correctiveness to go down, not up. So that would tell me probably a breakout here at some point. Now let's entertain that idea for a moment. If that's the case, this wick kind of messes things up a lot. But let's say if it wasn't there, I mean, obviously it is there, but you could say that this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's 3, and then we have another 1, 2, 3. There's another 3, and now we come down 1, so maybe we get 2, and then another 3, and then we start to go, right? That would be nice to see. And what that would be, right? What that would be is a WXY. So you have 1, 2, 3, that's W. 1, 2, 3, that's X, and then 1, 2, 3, which would be Y. So it doesn't matter if the wick, passes up here in a correction. It's only in an impulse. You don't want that. So, if that's the case, then obviously you'd get 1, 2, 3, and then you have a WXY for wave 4, and then you get that fifth wave. So we'll see what happens. As far as support goes, we're finding support currently at these highs right here, right? So here's your kind of two little zones right in here. It would be nice to hold above it, but if we do break below, we really want to stay above the 68K right in here. So yeah, that's it for the 1 hour. Now let's say if we did end up breaking it and this wasn't a fourth wave with the fifth wave, and we continue to go down and even broke this, then I would probably look for a retest of that and then continue down. And then we would really want to stay above this for that sort of reaccumulation phase to come in, right? Because if it is going to be rise, crash, retrace, then you want to see some reaccumulation down here at or about equal lows, or actually a little higher, then continue rising. If we ended up losing that, then at least we can rule out what it's not, right? And then we would say, okay, this would be an ABC. And now we can say, okay, that's what it's going to be. So if it's an ABC, let's talk about it. So the ABC, how do we gauge where the C lay can go if that's what it is, right? So I would take a trend-based Fibonacci from the top all the way back down to the bottom, and then I'm going to pull it all the way back up to the high, considering this is the high, right? So really it would be, if it were to be a deep one, right, it would be obviously the 1618, anywhere between the 1-to-1, which would be a good shallow target, and then the really between the 1272 and the 1.414. So somewhere right in here would be an ideal C leg. So A, B, and you come down for C, right? We definitely don't want to lose that. And then by the time we get here, the bull market support band would have already most likely have caught up to it, right? So if that's the case, then we can have some support coming in at the bottom of a C leg, and that would be a nice buy the dip opportunity, right? Not financial advice. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice, all opinion, speculation, right? So yeah, that would be one way to calculate it. Another way to calculate it is by simply taking a fib from the bottom of this wave and then coming all the way up to the top, and then the 618, right? A, B, and it doesn't really calculate the C leg, but it really calculates the retracement down to here. So that would be a better idea, right? Now, another way you can do it is if you take the length of this and put it here, and then put that right at the top of that wave. And that's usually matching up A and C, right? And that's about 58.2K. So there's a few ideas there for us to contemplate. Hopefully that helped everybody. But yeah. And remember, all those ideas are basically the same thing for the price of theta, right? So everything I said for Bitcoin, all of that applies with the price of theta. So, if you're looking for a theta video, I mean, basically that was it. And then as far as XRP goes, XRP is in a different, it's always in a different, it's in a world of its own. I'll probably talk about that on the next video, but just very quickly here, the same really with Bitcoin, but looks a little different. You have an A, B, C. If that were to play with Bitcoin, if that were to occur, we would lose the bull market support band. But really, XRP hasn't been so favorable with the bull market support band because, I mean, you can see, we're above it, then we're below it, then we're above it, then we're below it, then we're above it, right? So it's sort of like intertwining with it. But if we did come down, then I would like us to hold above the bull market support band, and then sort of get a rounded bottom out of here, and that would kind of be a nice looking shoulder ahead, and then another shoulder, right? So we have this inverse head and shoulders here. I would really like to see support come in and stay above 56, 57 cents. I mean, really the goal for XRP would be to stay above 57, curl out, curl this shoulder out, carve it out, break out, back test, and continue rocking to the upside. I mean, another thing, as well as you have, I mean, I've talked about this before, but somewhat, it's not perfect, but somewhat of a cup, and you're cupping into the resistance, so I would like to see it cup into that resistance, and then eventually this gets weak, and then we can break through it. And then also we have another idea, which could this be the ending of an E wave, and then the end of an E wave oftentimes is a triangle itself. So basically looking at the entire chart of XRP like sort of like a contracting triangle, and we're in that last E wave, and the last E wave is sort of a triangle in itself. So if that's the case, then every wave sort of, you want 3 waves. So far we have 2. So then it would be 1, 2, and then we would get 3, that E wave, right? So if that's a triangle, we want it to stay above here. We don't want it to break the high yet, but that would line up with the ABC that I talked about Bitcoin with, right? And then we can start, hopefully building this base a little better above the bull market support band and then eventually get the heck out of here. Now, as far as my prediction for X, I made I had a comment that said, well, win, win, win. And for fun, for entertainment purposes, I said that here's our range right here, right? And then we were in this range. We broke out of the range, and then we developed another range. And basically, I said that I think it's possible that we can break above this range. Really the close, it was the weekly close, so let me go to the weekly. The weekly close is at 75, we'll say 75 cents. So a weekly close above this black line between April and May. So I don't know, it's not looking so good right now, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with it, and we'll see how that continues to play. But yeah, this could be, and to me, it's just very methodically, continuing to be accumulated, right? And this whole thing is one giant accumulation range, one giant correction. And just like how this is a triangle, you can say that this is an A, B, C, D, and this E wave is the triangle before we continue higher. You can also say that this is an A, B, C, a flat, right? Continue higher. You can also say that this is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We go sideways, we break out, we go sideways again, and we continue breaking out. We really want to break out of here. And that's exactly what happened down here. You had an A, B, C, D, E breakout. You also had a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, right? You also had many different similarities in here, right? You also had this this channel, right, down in here, and then we broke below the channel, right? So maybe that could potentially be what's happening here. If it wants to be bearish, right? So let's say if it's going to be a bearish similarity, then look at the two differences, right? So let me just highlight it. There's the rise, there's the rise, there's the crash, there's the crash, there's the retrace, there's the retrace, there's the reaccumulation, there's the channel. So what's missing? This big fat dump before the big fat pump. So maybe that's probably an idea there. If Bitcoin wants to go, this scenario right here is if Bitcoin goes all the way back down to that major support area around the bull market support band. Well, maybe not so extensive like this, but at least a liquidity grab, right? Because all of this is just kind of like engineered liquidity. And a lot of times market makers like to break below, get everybody short, then soak up that liquidity, then take it high, just like how they did it here. So that could look like this. Let me zoom in. So here's our channel, right? And if this thing really wants to do that, I hope it doesn't, but essentially you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a 5-wave move up. You have an A, B, C, right? I mean, and then now you have a 1, 2, and let's go, right? But if that's not the case, then it could be a part of somewhat of a bigger correction where you have something like this. You come up and then you take out the low and then you go, right? So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sort of a awkward looking diagonal. I'm not sure if that really is how you would label it, but something where it takes out the low. And then basically, nope, not that, right here, A, B, and a C. And you take out and you break this trend line, right? And then you go. So I don't like it. I hope that's not the case. But anything is possible, right? And then also, I'm just using that as an example because I'm trying to basically match what happened over here to what's happening now, just on a much bigger proportion. So, yep, that'll do it for this video. A couple things, a couple things to note is we are holding above the bull market support band for now 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 weeks. So that's pretty good. We're holding above it for 5 weeks. Obviously, we held above it over here for longer, and then we ended up breaking down. But so far, so good, right? And then, it really looks nice on the weekly chart. You have a clear cup and you have a clear handle, right? Hopefully we can get another one going on in here and eventually break out of this thing, because in my next video, more XRP oriented, I'm not sure when I'll do that, but I want to talk about XRP versus Bitcoin. The idea that I had here about the Wyckoff accumulation did not play out. Probably because either it's part of a bigger Wyckoff accumulation, or we're heading down even lower, which could be a 1, 2, and now we're getting 3, 4, 5, right? So probably an ending wave. It could still play out Wyckoff if it's like this, and then now we're in the spring phase. Then we come up here, then we go. So this would be sort of that Wyckoff area. So get rid of that and just look at this as our base. It's yet to be seen. Right now it does look like a nice Wyckoff. Just the way I had it drawn in my previous video wasn't accurate because we ended up breaking out this low. So essentially the initial idea was we had this as our Wyckoff. We come up here, right? We get a pullback, we continue higher, and then we continue, right? We get that final mode, right? Kind of where a lot of the other coins are, like HBAR, Theta Fuel. If that's not how you would draw it now, so that's okay, right? Now we can invalidate it. At least we know it's not that. So if this was part of the ending wave, then you can say this is our initial pump, right? We didn't take out the... So something like this, right? We know this picture here. So just to label it, we have this pump to the upside, right? Same thing here. We have this pump to the upside. Then we come down, right? We come down. The only thing I don't like is usually you come down and you take out this low. That's one of the reasons why I liked how it was drawn before, because if you notice on the previous time, we can see we had this boom, boom, right? We took out the low, boom, boom, we took out the low, we come back up, then we sort of round about, but right when we got in that retracement level, it sort of just fell apart, right? So it could still be... Now here's my alternative: either a new way of drawing it, but I don't really like that, or it can continue coming down and develop something like this, which is Wyckoff accumulation, just a different way to look at it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We come down, we take out the low, we come back up without taking out the high, we come back up without taking out the high, then we come all the way down, and we take out this low, right? So maybe in order to take out this low, we have an A, B, and then we come down for C. We take out the low, we grab that liquidity, then we start coming back up, right? And then once we meet up with the resistance in here, then we sort of, play around a little bit, then continue higher. So that would be the updated sort of look, which basically, instead of the other way, it would be an A, B, and a C, right? So, and it doesn't necessarily have to take out the low down here. It can start curling and cupping, rounding out right in here, and then continue to go, right? And it would just be an example like the first one we had right here. You could see the two different ones where it sort of, rounds about. So we'll see what happens. There's no reason to try to figure out everything right now. It looks pretty oversold. I mean, we have a 9 here, right? I mean, the RSI is oversold. It looks like it needs a bounce coming soon. So if I were to count it, you could say 1, 2, all of this is 3, maybe we get 4, and then we get 5. We finish it up, and then we start rounding out. So it's yet to be seen. Really want to just keep my eye on the USD chart. If you look at the USD chart, we are on a 9 buy. So look at that. We're not that far away from the bull market support band. We're on a 4-hour 9 buy. That's pretty good. Let's see if we can get a bounce, at least a short-term bounce. Again, I don't think this correction is over. I think it still drags on, but we're hopefully getting close. And we tested the bull market support band down here. I would like us to come back up and test it one more time, and and then we'll reevaluate where Bitcoin is at that point. Again, for Bitcoin, it can be, pretending this is the Bitcoin chart, it can be an ABC, right? It could be a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways go, and all of that coincides with what THETA's doing and with everything else. So yeah, challenging times when we're in the middle of the retracement levels in this correction, but eventually we'll get through it, and when we do, it'll make much more sense. But it actually does make sense. All you have to do is just zoom all the way out and look at the macro and just know that we're bullish. And that's why I continue to hodl. Doesn't mean you should, right? Because not financial advice. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. If you have any charts you want me to look at, you can drop them in the comment section below, and you can let me know what the ticker is. And once a week I kind of do like a rapid fire session where I go through all the many different charts and see at first glance what's happening. So this was the video I put out yesterday. Just a couple coins. If you see any there, you can go check it out. But anyways, guys, that'll do it for this video. And if you would be so kind, that would be amazing if you can drop a like and hit that subscribe button, and also drop a comment. That always helps out. And let me know if you have any coins you want me to look at. I'm gonna try to do VeChain this week. So if there's any VeChain fans, let me know. And also, if you want to support the channel, there is a YouTube tip jar right on the screen. You can scan the QR code and leave a tip, and that's always very appreciative to support the channel. But anyways, guys, that'll do it for this video. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.